Hello, this is Tanya Stamper. I am going to be speaking to you about Richard Curwin, Alan Mendler, and Brian Mendler as far as their book Discipline with Dignity. Who are they? Richard Curwin is an expert in his field. He deals with discipline, motivation, and classroom management, and he uses his classroom-tested techniques in combining philosophy, research, and strategies for challenging students. Alan Mendler is an educator and school psychologist. He provides worldwide training on classroom management and motivating students, and he also develops effective frameworks and strategies for educators and parents. Brian Mendler is Alan Mendler's son. He is certified in elementary and special ed and has extensive experience working with challenging students. And they are all co-authors of the book Discipline with Dignity. Now, what is Discipline with Dignity? It's a flexible program for effective school and classroom management. Okay, what does that mean? It means that we're to teach the students responsible thinking, cooperation, mutual respect, and shared decision making. Shared decision making is a big part of this because it really involves the students in their learning and their behavioral goals. It also gives teachers and administrators the skills and techniques that they need to fulfill this. And it helps them to spend less time dealing with behavioral issues and more time spent on learning. That can really be a problem. Many of the classrooms that I've been in, sometimes they'll spend a whole period practically dealing with issues, with interruptions and outbursts and so forth. And all that learning time is just gone. It's been lost. And the students that aren't doing anything, they're there to learn, they're just sitting there doing nothing. So something like this is really needed for all classrooms. What are the essential elements? It brought out that without dignity, students learn to dislike school and learning. So many times that they start feeling that way because they're bored, because there's no clear limits on the guidelines, there's no consistency, there's a lack of acceptable outlets. Many times they might come in frustrated or mad about something that happened before, and they just need a cooling off time. They need maybe someone to talk to, some type of appropriate outlet so that they can move on. Attacks on their dignity. Sometimes teachers can be derogatory. Other peers can say things that attack their dignity, and that all has an impact. Educators need to show that they believe in the students and they have a good attitude no matter what goes on throughout the day. It can be really stressful, but still we need to put on that good attitude, mood, and face to so that that's contagious to the students. We need to use humor because that can really go a long way. They like that. They like to see that we're human. And be a model. You know, what we say to do is what we should be doing because they can see right through us. And treat all students with dignity. Rita Pearson brought out that we might not click with all of our students. We might not even like all of our students very much. But we still need to treat them with respect and dignity no matter what. We need to show that to them that we really care. We are educators and we are there for each student. It addresses three basic needs: connection, competence, and control. So if these don't exist, then the student can shut down from a lack of motivation or even act out. When I was doing my research, it gave the example of the old joke about the light bulb, where how many psychiatrists does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is none, because the light bulb has to want to change. That can be true for our students. The students need to want to change in order to change. And how are they going to do that? They need to be motivated. They don't have the skills on their own to be able to know how to put that into place, how to accomplish those steps and get to that goal. So we need to be able to show them. And one of the ways that we can do this is by forming that connection with them, greeting them when they enter the room, saying goodbye to them when they leave, learning about their interests, asking them about certain things that we know that they're interested in. Be visible, be available for them when they need to talk. be around where they can see that we're watching out for them. Now, how does this model work? We never want to attempt to alter behavior when emotions are high. If we do that, then we'll just lose it right then and there. We'll lose control of the classroom because when emotions are high, everything escalates. Other students can get involved. Voices are raised. So many things can happen. It becomes an unsafe situation. So we need to take time to think about what we're doing before we act. Dr. Curwin gave an example of if a student did not want to sit down when we ask them to. A lot of times we'll say, well, I'm going to call your parents or you're going to go to the office. And the student might go ahead and sit down, but they're not doing it on their own. They're not motivated to do that. And they're resentful and they kind of sit there and sulk and don't want to learn. He said that we could offer some suggestions for the student. We could say, it's really a sign of maturity. If you go ahead and sit down, I really appreciate it so we can move on with our learning. Sometimes they're still not going to do that. So we can provide a music stand or some type of a table where they can stand there and still have their lesson and listen and hopefully take part as the class goes on and still be learning. But more importantly, too, the rest of the class will not lose out on their learning time. No time is wasted. And the mood is set at a calm level. And by the time the class is over, hopefully the student will be calm. And then once all the other students have left the classroom, then we can speak to that student as to why this happened and discuss how that should not ever happen again and find a way to deal with that. We should always listen to the student, acknowledge what they say, let them know that we really do hear them and we understand what they're saying. We don't assume anything because sometimes we'll be thinking one way and they really mean something else. So we want to make sure that we listen to them. Agree that they're upset. Say, yeah, I understand. You are upset. I get that. Act on the situation, but do it after class once all their peers have left. And then speak calmly and quietly to the student. Now, putting it all together, they talked about a teacher-student contract for rules and consequences, to involve the students in that process to ensure that the rules are clear so that they know exactly what rules they need to follow, what guidelines, and why the consequences are important and that the consequences are fair. Develop predictable consequences, not punishments. Allow the contract to change with the needs of the classroom. Sometimes students come and go, so we need to change as need be and be adaptable. Protect the dignity of all students. The 9 principles for consequences are: always implement a consequence when needed. Simply state the rule and the consequence. The students have already helped us to put this together, so they know what the rules and the consequences are. There shouldn't be a lot of extra talk, explanation as to why it is what it is, and they should understand that. Be physically close to the student when implementing a consequence. We know that proximity plays a big part in classroom management. Make direct eye contact. When we have a good relationship with them, sometimes that's all that we need to do, but we should always look at them when we're talking to them. Use a soft voice. Usually a soft, low voice has more impact than a loud voice because we keep our mood on a low key also, where our nerves and sensitivities aren't triggered, and it shows a good example for the whole class. Catch a student being good. Let them know that we really notice when they're doing a good job on something, even a little bit of effort. And we want to do this in an age-appropriate way. We don't want to bring this out like with older students in front of all their friends because the other kids could start making fun of them, and then we've kind of lost that. But we want to do this in an age-appropriate manner. Even when they're leaving the classroom, say a little something to them, pat them on the shoulder, thumbs up. Don't embarrass them. Be firm and anger-free. Do not accept excuses, bargaining, or whining. Now, wrapping it up, the key points are making genuine connection, listen, share decision-making. Example was the class contract. Be a model for and expect respect, responsibility, and dignity, and then, of course, be consistent. The discipline with dignity is effective because it helps the students to build skills that they can apply, not just in school, but in all aspects of their lives, especially at a time when so many students don't have positive role models. It's a blend of what makes sense in the world that we live in and what they need to learn. They need to be able to navigate when no one else is around, and it gives them the responsibility to do the right thing when they walk out of our classroom, when they go into another classroom, in the restroom, in the hallway, etc. When they leave our school and they're in the real world, in their community, in their home, they'll have these skills to build on. So I really enjoyed this. I was happy that I was assigned this presentation. I've learned a lot, and I will be using the points from this in my classroom. So that ends my presentation of Dr. Curwin and the two Dr. Mendlers about discipline with dignity. Thank you very much.